And good morning. Okay, let us go ahead and move on to section 4.1. Going into a new chapter. Trying to determine what's going to happen whenever we're finished with this book, and I do not know. So we've got a ways to finish the book, but it's going to go pretty fast. All right, so hopefully I'll be able to be a little bit smarter on this section. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I can do these math problems, but you put a word problem in front of me and it just generally goes over my head. I am not good at those things. But that's okay, because we'll learn it together. Okay, so let's look at section 4.1. These are fractions, unknowns and equations with fractions. So that's what we're going to be doing in this chapter. Let's say someone purchased an additional 3/8 of an acre, giving them a total of 4 1/4 acres. You want to know how much land they had before the purchase. Okay, so X is how much they had first. Then they purchased an extra 3/8 acre to give them a total of 4 1/4. So you solve it the exact same way you would if you were working with whole numbers. So what we're going to do here is we would want to subtract, do the additive inverse and subtract 3/8 from both sides. So that would cancel these out and leave us with X on this side. We would change this to 17 over 4. Remember, 4 times 4 would be 16 plus 1 is 17 over 4. Okay, but you got to have common denominators. So we would use 8, and so that would make our numerator 34. So we're left with 34/8 plus negative 3/8. So you remember what you do when you have when you add a negative. Basically, that means you're going to get a positive, especially if your other one's bigger. Okay, so basically you're going to say 34 plus negative 3 gives you 31/8. And then when you take this and simplify it down, you just divide it. You get 3 7/8 because 8 goes into 31 3 whole times with 7/8 left over. So they started with 3 7/8 acre. Okay, let's move on to this page. And this page is just going over what we already know. Doing the same thing to both sides of the equation does not change the value. So basically, they're asking you to look at this scale and notice there's 6 here and there's 6 here. The scale is equal. If you add, subtract, multiply, or divide one side of a scale by a quantity, you have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide the other side by the same quantity or on the scale, or the scale would be out of balance. So here, if you have your 6's and you add a half to this side, then to keep it equal, you must add a half to this side. Okay, subtracting half from both sides, which you'd have to do that to both sides. So likewise, in an equation, the value of all the numbers on the left equals the values of all the numbers on the right. For them to remain equal, then, whatever we do to one side, we must also do to the other side. While you may be wondering why we need to spend so much time understanding equality and the concept that we can add, subtract, multiply, and divide the same quantity to both sides of an equation, it's a skill used extensively as we seek to use math to explore God's creation. Thus, it's vital to make sure we grasp and we know how to work with equations involving both unknowns and fractions. Now, generally we'll skip over the keeping perspective, but I want to read it today. It's pretty good. Once again, we're applying the same principles we looked at with integers to fractions. Throughout math, you'll find the same principles applied over and over again to new notations and situations. The number of notations we need reminds us that God created a universe more intricate than we could imagine, which is why we need so many different mathematical notations and techniques to help us describe it. While many mathematicians would love to take the glory for math, the glory goes to the one who created and sustains the universe so consistently, and who gave us a mind capable of exploring it. Our ability to observe and think is a gift from God. I didn't quite grasp that fact until a concussion had made me unable to operate for months. No matter how hard I tried, I just could not think at times. God has our bodies do amazing things for us that we often take for granted. So as you work on worksheet 4.1, praise God for giving you the ability to learn and think. If you struggle with a concept, run to God. He understands math perfectly, can help you learn what you need to learn. See, these are things we don't often think about. Praying and asking for God to give you the knowledge to help you understand whatever concept it is that you can't get. 1 Corinthians 4:7, for who maketh thee to differ from another? And what hast thou that thou didst not receive? Now if thou didst receive it, why dost thou glory, as if thou hadst not received it? And this is very true. Okay, I thought that was a very good keeping perspective. All right, so we are going to be doing worksheet 4.1. And really, I don't even think I need to help you on this one. I think you probably have this down pretty good. The first four, you're just working with your fractions. Just remember that if it's addition or subtraction, you've got to have common denominators. Multiplication and division, you do not. Also remember, when you divide fractions, that you have to take your reciprocal and change it to multiplication. Don't forget that too. And then this is your second page. It should be easy. You're doing the same thing that you did on the first page, except you have to write your equation. They didn't give you the equation like they did on the first page. So I think this will be a real easy one. It's a real short one, so I'm not going to help you with it. I'm also not going to grade it. And if you need help, send me a message and then I'll give you some help on the page, okay? That's all for today.
Yeah!